Hello, welcome to Vinylology, where we rate the top 3,000 albums of all time in music. This is our very first episode where we count down the first 10 albums, which start at number 3,000. After satisfying their multiple record deal with Warner Brothers, Wake of the Flood is the sixth studio album by the Grateful Dead, released in 1973, and was the first album on the band's own Grateful Dead Records record label. This release fared better on the pop charts than their previous studio album, 1970's American Beauty, which reached number 18. After three official live albums in a row, the Grateful Dead wanted to record studio versions of songs written since keyboardist Keith Gaucho had joined the band, who replaced former organist Pigpen, who had passed away tragically at the age of 27. The songs on the album, for the most part, have been played live for months. However, the inspiration of the Grateful Dead's music has always been a challenge to capture in the confines of a studio. Therefore, while Wake of the Flood was certainly as good as most of their previous non-live efforts, it falls far short of the legendary performances the band was given during this era. So in that regard, this is considered a disappointment. The new compositions blended genres from country, folk, and R&B to ragtime and jazz rock, the latter being more prominent than previous releases, most likely due to the new band members' influence. After the release of this album, the collapse of the band's label later in 1976 caused Wake of the Flood to be in and out of print for many years. My vinyl copy is part of the wonderful Vinyl Me Please, the Story of the Grateful Dead box set, which is on light green transparent vinyl, and this is a must-have if you are a Deadhead. There are a few tracks that do tap into some of the Dead's jazzier and exceedingly improvisational nature. Eyes of the World contains some good playing, although it seems like the song ends before it starts getting really good. Other highlights is Bob Weir's Weather Report Suite, as well as Jerry Garcia ballad Stella Blue. That being said, I must admit that I'm not the biggest Grateful Dead fan, hence my personal score 5. I am not really enjoying this, if I can be honest. But this has the honor of being number 3,000 on the list. This is the second album by the American band Jefferson Starship, released in 1975. It is the best-selling album by any incarnation of Jefferson Airplane and its spin-off groups. The album reached number 1 for 4 non-consecutive weeks on the U.S. Billboard 200. The group attempted to create a commercialized sound with more ballads, which was a total contrast to their past work, paving the musical direction of the future albums. Jefferson Airplane founder Marty Balin returned as a fully integrated member, and he wrote or co-wrote half of the tracks on the album, including the song Miracles. Miracles was the highest charting single of any permutation of the band until Starship's We Built This City a decade later, ultimately peaking at number 3 in the Billboard singles chart. I have 2 copies of this, both pressed from RCA in Indianapolis. One has some sticker damage to the front jacket. The gold on the front cover is embossed, which is guitarist Craig Chiquico drew the octopus logo on the cover. The vinyl is very easy to find. My personal opinion on this album is that it's decent, and I give it a 6. I especially love the song Miracles. It has that timeless, nostalgic feel of the soft rock of the 70s, and I like the 2 Gray Slick songs on side 1, but the rest of the album is very hit or miss to me. The instrumental Get Fiddler, with its honky-tonk sound, is a little jarring in the middle of side 1, and the way the album blends everything from soft rock to harder rock to still some psychedelic rock from their past doesn't always have the best results. Not terrible though, but definitely not great. Lola vs. Power Man and the Money Go Round Part 1 is the 8th studio album by British rock band the Kinks, released in 1970. The fact that the Kinks were banned from touring in the U.S. by the American Federation of Musicians from 1965 to 69, and all the shady business dealings that they had to go through at the time, the album is clearly showcasing the bitterness of songwriter Ray Davies in all aspects of the music industry. According to Ray Davies, Lola vs. Power Man was simply good versus evil. Musically, Lola vs. Power Man is varied, contrasting general ballads like Get Back in Line and A Long Way From Home against hard rock songs like Rats and Power Man, with other songs that are almost vaudeville like Denmark Street and The Money Go Round, making the result wildly unfocused but with some excellent material. The huge hit here is Lola, a song apparently based on a true story about a cross-dresser, and caused some controversy on the subject matter, which reached the top 10 in the United States, United Kingdom, and has become a staple of classic rock radio. Lola vs. Power Man was a big success both critically and commercially for the group, charting in the top 40 in America and helping restore them in the public eye, making it a comeback album. The album is the first to feature a permanent keyboardist, with John Gosling was added to the Kinks lineup, extended the 4-piece to a 5-member band. Also of interest for the song Lola, Ray Davies overdubbed the trademarked word Coca-Cola with the generic Cherry Cola for the mono single release, as the BBC would not have played it otherwise. My personal grade for this album is a 6. I've always loved Lola, obviously is a classic, and I found some other songs in the album to be appealing like Power Man and Top of the Pops, but others are a little bland like Denmark Street. I also don't personally think this really qualifies as a concept album, and I think it is indeed a drop-off from their earlier albums. My vinyl copy, which does have the original lyric of Coca-Cola in the song Lola, is a 50th anniversary remastered edition, which sounds really nice. In case anyone's wondering, there was supposed to be a part 2, but got scrapped due to other projects. Racine Carré, which is French for square root, is the second studio album by Belgian musician Strawmay and was released in 2013. Strawmay expressed his desire to incorporate Caribbean and African musical influences along with his signature 1990s inspired dance beats. The album, recorded in an attic, explores themes as diverse as alienation from social networks, relationship issues, discrimination, cigarettes, and lung cancer. Prior to its official release and afterwards, the album received critical acclaim for its thoughtful lyrics. The album was a commercial success across Western Europe, including non-French speaking countries. Racine Carré topped the charts in both France, Belgium, Switzerland, and Netherlands, as well as Italy, and it also reached the top 10 in Canada and the top 40 in Germany. In its native Belgium, it remained at the top of the charts for multiple weeks and has been certified 12 times platinum. In France, the album has been certified quadruple diamond and has become one of the highest selling albums in recent years after amassing over 1 million copies sold in 4 months after its release. The album yielded 3 chart-topping singles and had 6 singles overall. As someone who has never heard of Strawmay at all, being in my sheltered world in the United States, I must say that the music is appealing. I unfortunately cannot speak French at all, as you can probably tell from my horrible pronunciation. So lyrically, I'm not following along with any of the words, but which is a shame for me because from what I understand, the lyrics are a high point. However, the beats, music, and singing make it enjoyable nonetheless, and it sounds like a blend of European club disco with elements of hip-hop and some world beats. My personal score is a 6.5. This is Strawmay's only release on the list. My copy is the original release with the orange vinyl spread across 2 records. There's also a re-release later with yellow and light blue vinyl. As expected, this vinyl release appears to be digitally sourced and slightly compressed. Foreigner is the self-titled debut studio album by the British-American rock band Foreigner, released in 1977. It featured 3 hit singles, Feels Like the First Time, Cold as Ice, and Long, Long Way From Home. This was the first of 4 straight albums to be certified at least 5 times platinum in the United States, released almost a year apart from each other. Foreigner peaked at number 4 on the US album chart and in the top 10 in Canada and Australia, while yielding 2 top 10 hits in North America. The album did well even though it was released at the height of punk music popularity in 1977 and appealed mostly to the youth in the suburbs. It is a sleek production and is filled with melodic guitar hooks thanks to co-founder Mick Jones, and with an incredible voice courtesy of Lou Gramm. It also features album tracks such as Head Knocker and Star Rider, the latter of which features a rare lead vocal from Mick Jones. My personal score is a 6. I obviously like the hit songs, especially the sardonic bite of Cold as Ice with that fantastic piano hook opening, and Long, Long Way from Home, which is a great song to drive to. But most of the rest of the song seems a little dated or dull to me, or maybe they just remind me too much of what college frat boys would rock to in the early 80s. Anyway, my vinyl copy is something that I remember getting for $1 used in an Italian church yard sale, and it's pretty beat up but plays fine. I don't have it, but from what I understand, the mobile fidelity version of this is the version to get, which goes from around $50 to $100. The original soundtrack is the third studio album by English art rock band 10cc. It was released in 1975 and peaked at number 3 on the UK album chart. The album was the first to be released by Mercury Records after signing the band for $1 million in February of 1975. The catalyst for the deal was the fact the record executives had heard one song, I'm Not in Love, and then went nuts for the band. The original soundtrack was a critical and commercial success, reaching number 3 in the UK and number 15 in the US. It includes the singles Life is a Minestrone and I'm Not in Love, the band's most popular songs to this day. The album's opening track, Une Nuit à Paris, is a 9-minute multi-part mini operetta. In English, the title roughly translates to One Night in Paris, and the suite is divided into 3 separate parts. The album's most famous song, I'm Not in Love, was built around a simple title by guitarist Eric Stewart, which asked the many ways the words I love you can be said without uttering them by someone that is apparently in complete denial of their feelings. My personal grade is a 6, and my copy of the vinyl is in really good condition of the 1975 Columbia pressing. I'm Not in Love is an absolutely incredible song with its lush instrumentation and chorus of voices, and the way that it was engineered is amazing and definitely a technological feat for the time, using tape loops. However, the rest of the album is a little too art school for me, with French mini operas and oftentimes trying too hard to be amusing, or maybe just trying too hard to be ambitious. Wow, the third middle 1970s album in a row, with the last 6 of 7 albums being released between 1970 to 1977. I'm sure that won't continue. Anyway, Chicago 10 is the 8th studio album and 10th album overall by the American band Chicago. It was released by Columbia Records in 1976. After recording Chicago 8 in a state of exhaustion, Chicago took a break from the studio and recorded 10 in the spring of 1976, feeling refreshed after a substantial breakaway, and the results were definitely improved. The album made it to number 3 on the Billboard 200, and it was the band's first album to be certified platinum, and has since been certified multi-platinum. It was the first album to chart in the United Kingdom in years, at number 25. Chicago 10 was nominated for a Grammy Award for Album of the Year, and it won a Grammy Award for Best Album Package. 3 songs from the album were released as singles, which included Another Rainy Day in New York City and You Were On My Mind, both of which made it to the Billboard Hot 100. However, the album produced Chicago's first number 1 single in the United States, If You Leave Me Now. The single went on to win 2 Grammy Awards and in hindsight became a turning point for the band with regards to their past and their future. Originally written at the same time as Chicago's 7's Wishing You Were Here, which is another ballad, the song If You Leave Me Now was one of the last to be completed and, according to reports, was very nearly left off the final product. Band members such as Robert Lamb and Teef Caff have been quoted that they did not think it was overly special and were concerned about the band's increased emphasis on ballads. The duo was also concerned with the band generally moving away from their politically oriented music into much more commercial fare. Designed by the art director of Columbia Records, John Berg, the album art depicts a partially unwrapped chocolate bar with the Chicago logo on it, resembling a Hershey's chocolate bar as it was packaged at the time, and it won a Grammy Award for Best Album Package. The cover art is now in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. My copy of the vinyl is a 180 gram 30th anniversary edition from Friday Music, which is good sound quality and packaging, but I suspect it was sourced from a digital source since its dynamic range is measured as an 11. My grade for this album is a 6. If You Leave Me Now is again another 70s soft rock smash smashed and I could listen to literally every day and not get tired of. The rest of the album is good, but not great to me. It definitely has great musicianship, which you would expect from Chicago, but the result isn't anything overly special in my opinion for the most part. Gutter Flower is the seventh studio album by American rock band Goo Goo Dolls. It was released in 2002 on Warner Brothers Records. It is a follow-up to their critically and commercially successful albums Dizzy Up the Girl and A Boy Named Goo. The album was commercially successful upon its release, hitting number 4 on the Billboard 200, their highest position on the chart. By this point in their career, the Goo Goo Dolls have become well known for their power pop hooks and their very popular mid-tempo ballads. Apparently recognizing that they were more and more escaping their harder rocker beginnings, this album seems to try and compromise between their newer, more commercial music and their power pop and hard rock roots. Gutter Flower spits out yet more likely hits such as Here Is Gone, It's Over, Sympathy, and Big Machine, while pausing periodically to pass the microphone the raspy voiced bassist Robbie Tukak to give it a more respectable vibe. Nothing here rises to the same level as their past songs Name and Iris, but the music is pretty good. Rob Cavello handled the production duties to give this album a very slick, appealing sound, with the overall result being an alternative rock flavor. My score is a solid 7. My copy is what they call orange rust color, but it looks like more of a red color to me. The compact disc version of this is notorious for being overly compressed, and a vinyl must be sourced from the same digital file since the dynamic range score is so low at a 10. Come Dance With Me is an album by American vocalist Frank Sinatra, released in 1959. This was Sinatra's most commercially successful album, staying on the Billboard pop charts for 141 weeks, peaking at number 2 for 4 weeks. Also at the Grammy Awards of 1960, Come Dance With Me won the Grammy Award for Album of the Year, as well as the Grammy Award for Best Vocal Performance. Billy May, who was the conductor of the orchestra, won the Grammy Award for Best Arrangement. Working with Billy May again, Frank Sinatra recorded his hardest swing album ever with Come Dance With Me. Driven by an intensely swinging horn section, the album really only has one slower number with The Last Dance, and the songs that make the biggest impression are the up-tempo cuts. With May's charts wildly careening all over the place, Sinatra relies on his macho swagger. As a result, Come Dance With Me is an intoxicating rush of invigorating dance songs. Listening to this now, the record still has a timeless appeal and sounds like basically a party. Sinatra sounds like he's having fun and enjoying himself, and it's hard to not be in a good mood listening to this. On the cover, he's basically asking the listener to join him in his good time. Anyway, my score is a 7. My copy is a fairly clean early Capitol Records stereo pressing. Fun fact, for the most part, if you see Frank Sinatra wearing a hat on the cover, that is usually indicative that it is a dancing up-tempo release, and the hatless covers generally are more somber affairs. Alright, music from the early 1970s is back. Give It Up is the second studio album by American musician Bonnie Raitt and was recorded at Bearsville Studios. Released in 1972 by Warner Brothers Records, Give It Up is a combination of various genres, including folk, blues, R&B, and soft rock. 7 of the 10 tracks on the album are covers, and the tracks are either soft sentimental ballads or fast-paced folk rock pieces. Lyrically, Give It Up revolves around Bonnie Raitt's femininity, relationships, and being comfortable with herself. Some of the faster tracks are accompanied by brass instrumentation, which is played in the style of a New Orleans brass band, reminiscent of Dixieland music. Overall, Give It Up has a smoother, more polished sound than her first album. The vocals are definitely a highlight, where Bonnie Raitt's voice has a smoothness that can be strong, earthy, and sexy. Interestingly, Raitt herself would later criticize her vocals, indicating that she thought she sounded like Mickey Mouse. Give It Up sold moderately well and was Raitt's first album to reach the Billboard chart, where it peaked at number 138 and was later certified gold. Critical reception has been positive, as most critics liked the vocals and the musicianship throughout the album. In 2012, Rolling Stone ranked Give It Up at number 495 on its list of 500 greatest greatest albums of all time. I give this album a 7. It has a nice sound and features a good choice of material, from the self-penned numbers to a very nice Jackson Browne written song, Under the Falling Sky. Raid's singing is very nice, and the guitar playing obviously isn't half bad either. Some of the songs are not completely noteworthy, but as a whole, it's a very nice collection of songs. My vinyl copy is a nice clean copy of a reissue on cream-colored WB labels. So there you have it, the very first Vinylology episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope some of these albums on this list are something you might consider getting. Thanks. Have a good day.